We are moving in, but I, 30F, can't handle my spouse's 37 meters pet. My spouse, 37, and I, 31, have been together for a few years and we are taking the next step to move in together. I have kids, and we each have a dog. We have taken things slowly to ensure both him and my kids are comfortable and ready, as well as with introducing the dogs, and gotten them used to each other slowly over the last year. However, and I feel guilty even saying this, I have a hard time handling his dog. He barks all the time. If we are sitting on the couch and one of us stands up, he barks. If he's sleeping in his bed and a car drives by, he barks. If we even look like we are putting jeans or shoes on and might be leaving, he barks. If we show any kind of affection to each other, he whines and barks. There are other things, but this is the main one. The rest is normal dog behaviors, begging for food, licking, etc. that you would expect dogs to do sometimes. It's not a lack of not taking care of him either. He takes care of him, and I've seen constant efforts to correct the behavior and stop the barking. I honestly just think the dog has high anxiety and that's what's causing the barking. I don't know. I understand that it's an adjustment and I need to make an effort to get used to it, but I have been trying to get used to it slowly over the past couple years. We spend a lot of time at his house, and I just can't imagine living with it every day. We sometimes joke that, even though she is a big dog, my dog isn't even a real dog. Very quiet, doesn't get into things, non-barker, respectful of space/boundaries. So I knew it was going to take some getting used to. It's just now that we are close to the date I don't know how I'm going to do this. We have had some conversations about how I'm feeling, but I don't think he fully understands how much his dog is to handle. He knows I'm struggling with it, but I can't find a way to explain just how much without it sounding like I hate his dog. I honestly don't hate him. I just want to be able to be comfortable in my own home, and I won't be able to do that when there is constant barking, or I would rather say, just be thirsty than get up and get a drink, because I don't want to be barked at. I'm mostly just looking for any advice from anyone who has been in this situation and anything that may have helped them overcome it and work through their feelings. It's an older dog, so I'm not even sure if training would be an option. Too long didn't read my boyfriend's dog barks constantly, and it's almost making me dread the idea of moving in together. Edit. Spelling. Now for the comments. Has your BF sought the advice of dog experts? Has he looked into professional training courses? Has he talked to his vet about a possible anxiety diagnosis/treatment? I found you can't teach an old dog new tricks to be inaccurate. Taught both of my most recent dogs new tricks when they were in their teens. Oh man. Yeah, that would be rough. I'd say a trainer is at least worth a shot. I'd try that long before I try moving in together. I think your concern is valid, and I'm a bit worried that living long term with more people and animals in the house might end up worsening the anxious behavior. Given that you also have children, though I don't know their ages, the behavior needs to be addressed before it can escalate. It doesn't even have to be aggressive. A very nervous dog can get scary for kids and their friends, jump up on people who don't know how to handle it, etc. I agree with others who said to have your BF go see a dog trainer. It'll not only improve your quality of life, but also the dog's. Dogs that bark all the time are nervous, and it's not healthy. It is rather easy to train, but you need to be professional and very consistent. Tips to get started: whenever he barks, remove him from the room. Dogs are pack animals, so they see this as a sign that the behavior they are showing is unwanted. This is the most efficient one, but don't feel sorry for him and keep being consistent, and you will be amazed at how fast this will change his behavior. Distract him. This depends on the dog. Some will bark even more. You can clap your hands or throw keys on the ground. Food can also help. Praise and give him treats and attention whenever he doesn't bark, or play with him. Like I said, the best way is to remove him from the situation. Do this consistently, and you can even have it solved within a few days, as dogs are very clever and pack orientated. You have to have your spouse on board with this though, otherwise it will not work. Has anyone tried to train the dog not to bark? I've gotten 2 barking dogs to stop. One responded to positive reinforcement. taught no bark. As soon as she started I would say, no bark, and she shut up because, what's this human doing? Great. She got a Cheerio and a good no bark. Rinse and repeat for days. Consistently. Took maybe 4 weeks. Second one is stubborn as all get out. He has a vibrating no bark collar. He hates the vibration for some reason. He'll have to wear it for maybe 3 weeks, off for 4, then back on. You gotta find the training method that works for the specific dog, but about 4 weeks of consistent training should be enough to break the habit. Edit to add, for some dogs being tired is enough to calm them down, but for a dedicated barker I've found a walk doesn't matter. Also, no positive reinforcement ever while barking. Nope. Has he been around other dogs before? Might be a lack of energy being used and anxiousness. Definitely voice this to your S/O, but maybe looks into a trainer or a doggy daycare you can take him to occasionally. Talk to a vet about medication. My friend's poor little dog was a nervous shaking ball of anxiety, and now she is much calmer with some meds. My friend was very reluctant to try it, but everyone, especially the dog, is much happier now. The dog definitely has some anxiety issues, but also just a lack of training. I had the same issue. My dog is super calm, loves people. His dog barks all the time, hates people, barks at cars and people. Thankfully I do training for a living and for fun, so it's just about rewarding the dog for being quiet. There is a lot of ways to do it, so my advice would be to get a trainer. But do not expect a quick fix, and everyone in the family including your children have to be willing to put in the work. It can't just be one-sided. Good luck. Oh, and it gets better. I've been training for a year and yes, she still barks at people outside, and if I have guests over, not that I've had many of those since COVID, but she no longer barks in the house unless someone is at the door. I would suggest spending some money on dog training classes to help. It will take the whole family to change the behavior, and a dog trainer should be able to help with figuring out the issue. It could be something simple such as lack of exercise, or something more complicated such as separation anxiety. Either way, with all the changes happening, each person in your new family needs to be on the same page on how to handle it. Going to a dog trainer did wonders for the accused dog my hubby and I got. It will also be great for family bonding. Hope this helps. I cured my dog from constant barking by using a spray bottle with water. She is a rescue from Alabama and hates water. Our dog got into the habit of barking at cars passing our house. It became an automatic response and she zoned when she was doing it and couldn't hear us reprimanding her. We found that an anti-barking collar worked swiftly to break the habit so that she could hear us when we told her no. It took some time to recondition her response, but we got there. Sometimes she slips, and we go back to the collar for an hour or 2, but all up, she's very responsive to a dog name, No. This sort of behavior from a dog is hard to break, especially if they done it for years. This behavior unfortunately has been unchecked by our BF. The joke of our dog not being a real dog says that the barking's allowed because it's what dogs do. Honestly, I can't stand these dogs at the dog park. They walk around barking non-stop. I feel sorry for the dog, but can't help feel annoyed. The owners always allow it, and it sounds like BF has as well. I draw the line at following my pup around and barking in their faces. Oppo can ask him to try a bark collar. I wouldn't move in before this is solved. It will grate at you until you hate the dog. Sorry to say this, but the problem is not the dog but the boyfriend. It looks like, because the dog is small, he didn't invest in proper training, because age-old thing of small dogs won't do harm, so why waste money on training? Ask your boyfriend to work on 3 issues with his dog. Deconditioning him for triggers of anxiety, putting on shoes, moving L, leaving him alone with increasing time periods. Never ever giving him food at the table or free feeding the dog. This is why the dog is begging for food. Obedience school/bot camp for dog. He can also try vet-approved anxiety curbing meds or some tips such as a thunder jacket or giving him an emotional support toy sprayed with dog calming pheromones. The other thing I would say is please understand, if you do move in with a boyfriend due to change in environment, both dogs are going to need at least 3 months to find a new normal. You will have to be patient with them and be consistent in their training. So my childhood dog is like this, and he is on CBD now, which helps him calm down a lot. Also pain meds, but they are recent and have nothing to do with that. Obviously see a trainer and get a professional opinion on this, and definitely talk to your partner about your concerns. Don't just move in and hope for the best. I'm babysitting my daughter's German Shepherd now, and that dog has so many issues and is driving me crazy. Only had him 3 weeks, but I can't take much more. Between covered in the cold weather and this dog, I'm not happy. Put it on your BF to fix the dog. If he can't make the dog stop barking, don't move in. Yeah, that's enough to drive anyone crazy. Maybe try asking the dog side of Reddit. They usually have some really good advice on stuff like that. There is bound to be a few owners who have dogs like that who may have some advice for you. Good luck. So my question is, after talking to your BF about your concerns, what has he done about it, aside from attempting to correct his behavior? That's an important question to ask yourself. What breed of dog is it? There are certain types of breeds that are more vocal, more needy, easily stimulated ECT. I have a lab and has super laid back and quiet. My Husband has a Boston AMD. He is extremely reactive to everything. Both are amazing dogs, but it took me a little longer to adjust and understand the Boston's behavior. Now that I do, I wouldn't want him any other way. 2 of my friends had dogs that were crazy barkers, so much so that it was affecting where they could live. I'm not exactly sure the item, but they both bought this sort of reg barking deterrent thing on Amazon, which basically emits a high pitch sound when they barked that they didn't like. No collar needed, and they both were shocked how quickly it stopped the screeching barking. I think it was 2 days. They said it was life changing. They also tried CBD for the anxiety, but it only helped a little. If he only barks at things related to you, make sure you're the one that feeds him to help with bonding. If none of those things work, definitely reach out to an animal behaviorist. This is workable, I promise. This sounds like my dog. She's always had anxiety, but we found out she also has epilepsy. She'd shake sometimes, like scared shaking, but turns out it was small seizures. She's now on meds and it has helped so much. Maybe take the dog to the vet to be evaluated. Aside from the relationship, this dog sounds like a possibly good candidate for anxiety medication and good positive reinforcement training. Training a dog that's insecure like this takes a lot of time and patience, but is 100% possible even if he's older. This is very unscientific, but I would look into CBD for dogs. My dog from being a kid is now very elderly. He's still alive and my parents have been giving it to him for pain and it's vastly improved his behavior and disposition. He was attacked at around 5 years old. Before that he was a lovely and sweet dog, and ever since that he's been a very bad dog. Quite aggressive and disagreeable. Also unscientific, but since he was shaken around a lot and almost died, we think it might be some CTE related condition. Then a couple years ago he suffered an off and on leg injury and has become increasingly blind and deaf, which apparently can also increase anxiety in dogs. He's still not perfect, but his quality of life seems to have improved greatly with the CBD recommended by the vet in terms of having less pain, more stamina, less identifiable anxiety and aggression. They even started giving it to the other dog preemptively because he's getting up in the years too. Sounds like separation anxiety with the dog. My boyfriend's family has a small dog exactly like this, and they have like a noise thing that makes a noise only she/dogs can hear when she barks. They don't even have to use it, they just hold it up, and she won't bark. Maybe something like that would help. I have a very similar issue, except we already live together. Partner's dog isn't trained, and has severe anxiety. Plus I have 2 cats that can't come out of the main bedroom/bathroom because the dog lunges at them. Partner continues to say training is expensive and the money doesn't get saved, no matter how much time passes. It's not a priority and it's making me question the entire relationship. Please don't move in together until your spouse addresses the issue. You may end up resenting both of them. Maybe every time he barks get him a toy, like a tug rope for your kids to play with him. If he's quiet he can play for longer. If he barks you ignore him. Learn to desensitize him to it. Don't even say quiet or punish him. No reactions, no going to the door, nothing. Have one of your kids ring the doorbell or knock on the door a few times every other few minutes and ignore him barking, and eventually he will learn to be quiet. Learn to distract him with other things too. Maybe when you go to get that glass of water, pick him up and bring him with you. He might just be a people person who's scared he'll get left alone. Is he a rescue because he might have had abandonment issues from past owners? Sounds like misguided training. A dog's anxiety often comes from the owner. I would seek professional dog training, and remember, the training isn't at all for the dog. Seems like the general consensus is clear. Try a few training tricks yourself, like removing him from the room or distracting him. Never use negative reinforcement like slapping or yelling, especially with a dog that might be nervous. Trust me, it never helps. If you can't manage the training yourself, or if it doesn't help, then you might need to talk to a professional trainer, but make sure to do your research. Some people claim to be trainers, but don't know the first thing when it comes to dog behavior. I'm not an expert on dogs, but I will say this: don't invalidate your discomfort. A dog barking all the time is annoying and stressful and anxiety inducing, and not just a dog being a dog. If he's waking you up at night barking, that's not okay. You need rest. Don't just write this off as something I'll get used to. Talk to your partner. Discuss the possibility of a trainer for his dog or something like this. Discuss what else could be done, because this is not a you, singular, problem. If you're moving in together, this is a both of you problem. My dogs like to go out in the yard and yell at the neighbor's dogs several times a day. It's only bad if they do it at odd hours or if it's muddy out. They definitely aren't the worst around. I bought this ultrasonic dog training deterrent device that is magical. You can use indoors or out, and you pick a word, show the dog the device, and then press the button. It took one time and my dogs were trained. Now I walk out and show them the device and they come inside. It's supposed to be similar to a do whistle. It's a pitch we can't hear, but it gets their attention. It sounds like you want to get rid of the dog for convenience. A dog isn't a chore, it's a member of the family, so often sending them to a place that can sort out behavioral issues would be good. He probably has had a long life of barking, and his dad smiling and patting him like, "Ooh, what's wrong buddy?" reinforcing his vocalizations. Options: you and your spouse can read dog training books and try to enforce a new world order of barking is bad, but because he's older it'll take a lot of time and dedication, or just send him to school and take notes from the trainer for how to act when he barks. If he barks because he's scared of the unknown, dear Lord human, why stand up? Monsters, then taking the time to work with him is a necessary step to handle his emotions differently. You aren't training him how to act like a military dog, you're treating him like a crying baby whose cries are loud enough and come out of nowhere. Eventually babies learn crying whenever something new is presented to them is unnecessary. If you stood up and your baby cried every time, then you'd take measures to teach them everything's okay, and they learn everything is indeed okay, which this dog has not figured that out, so no one has been taking the right measures. Commending who's a good crier and teaching them whenever they are scared you'll make all the bad feelings go away for them, and they notify you to service them by crying or barking, has been the issue here. That dog is nervous and poorly acclimated. Help a guy out. I would never want to get rid of the dog. That would be heartbreaking for both my boyfriend as well as his dog. That wouldn't even be considered an option by either of us. Just looking for ways to communicate my feelings with him without making him feel like I hate his dog or want it to be gone. You don't like the dog for some reason or another. You don't know how to tell your partner. The issue stems from long-term mishandling. Someone needs to start handling the dog better. You would never tell your boyfriend you don't want the dog because it's socially inappropriate and also misguided, but you also don't want the dog the way it is what you wrote. The dog is entangled in the relationship, so the two of you need to work with the dog together like you would a child. It's about to be both of yours dog, so don't put it on your so to handle it alone. This isn't a painting that upsets you and he can put into storage, it's a living creature with feelings too, so why not work on everyone's communication skills at the same time, even the dog's? The dog needs schooling from someone that's educated, and if you don't want to read up, or don't have the time to then do what everyone is recommending and suggest to your partner the dog goes to a behavioral school for a bit. This isn't saying anything you don't understand already, but sometimes reiteration helps it click. As a dog trainer, from what you're describing, it doesn't sound like they bark a bit more than normal. However, dogs bark at cars driving by. Dogs bark at mailmen. That is literally normal, like you cannot expect a dog to be silent all the time. I have 2 dogs. One is very vocal about everything. She barks at her toys when she is playing with them. She barks at us when we play with her. She barks at a treat, she gets so excited. Some dogs are vocal, and you have to be okay with that. It does not sound like the dog barks for hours on end. It would be hella a problem if you got a shoe out and the dog barked for like 3 hours straight. Doesn't sound like they do that. Then I have a dog who barks at cars driving by or people near our driveway as like being a guard-like dog. Nothing wrong with it. It's normal. Some dogs are more vocal, some aren't, and you gotta live with it. Like, do you honestly not expect the dog to be a dog and bark and be perfectly silent all the time? Edit. One of my dogs is relatively silent and knows bounder is like the how you describe yours. And my other dog is very vocal, but she has no anxiety or fear, just vocal. I think I'd need more context to jump to the conclusion that your BFS dog has anxiety, because my one dog that doesn't at all actually has anxiety, and my one that is vocal has fearlessness. I never said I expect him to be silent, but barking non-stop every single time one of us stands up is excessive, and I think would be for anyone. I love dogs and I love owning dogs, and I fully expect them to bark and make noise sometimes. See, that's not something included in your post. How much does he bark when you stand up or at a shoe? All that context is important, because your post makes it sound like he barks at cars, which is totally acceptable. Don't move in. Why are you moving in if you can't handle this dog? That's a huge part of his life. And if you do move in, you're choosing to live with the dog as it is right now. If he's willing to, you two need to talk to a specialist/trainer and assess if there's something else he's missing about the dog before you move in. Dogs bark, that's what they do. If the dog barks for hours and hours when you're just sitting down, then that's a problem, but the dog may otherwise bark. Thanks for watching. Hit the subscribe button and activate the notification bell for more videos. Also like the video if you enjoy it.